Hi, this is LAtkins, and today I will be talking about the SMS messaging campaign done this week on the local coffee shop called 1607 Coffee Company. So, the 1607 Coffee Company always decorates for the upcoming holidays. So, if they were to do a message campaign, a great way to get some customers to opt in would be to include an advertisement in the store. This slide shows an example of what one of those advertisements could look like. At the top, it has the company's name and location. And then below that, it shows what the advertisement is for and when it is. And then finally, at the bottom, it shows the directions to receive that 50% off of this Valentine's Day drink. In the lesson this week, it talks about how mobile couponing encourages customers to act now. However, since this is also a show text promotion, the business should limit the valid time period, which Benz talks about in his book, Relevance Raises Response. Since this promotion deals with Valentine's Day, that will be the one day of the promotion. However, this ad would be up at least 1 week before to make sure customers are aware of the deal, along with giving them the chance to share the promotion with their friends, which is something else that Benz talks about in his book. So, what's the difference between SMS and MMS? In the Tatango video on SMS versus MMS marketing, it talks about the differences. Starting with SMS, the marketer gets 160 characters of plain text. Now, that can include URLs and phone numbers for click-to-calls, but they only get those 160 characters. With MMS, the marketer gets a subject line, media content, which could include an image or a video, for example, and then they also get 500 characters of text. Now, why would a marketer choose SMS over MMS? One thing that was stated in Relevance Raises Response was one of the biggest differences between the two is the cost. MMS is about 3 times more expensive than SMS. One of the greatest things about SMS is that it allows businesses and organizations the ability to communicate with customers through text messaging. However, it is extremely important to follow all of the legal obligations, which will be talked about later. But SMS, when it comes to a small business like the 1607 Coffee House, makes a lot more sense than MMS, which is, again, 3 times more expensive. These messages were sent with a toll-free number provided by Gator Texting. In the lesson, we learned that toll-free numbers can cross multiple channels, and outside of that, toll-free numbers are provided instantly, have no approval process, unlike a short code, which could take 3 to 5 months. Similar to the reasoning behind why a marketer would use SMS or MMS, Benz talks about how the short code is also more expensive in comparison to the toll-free number. However, it is important to realize that they are limited with a throughput at 3 MPS, but an application can be made to enable a higher volume. If a business is overall unsure about where they stand with SMS marketing or just text message marketing, a toll-free number might be the way to go. Moving on from that, going from the left to the right are the messages sent out to a customer that opted into the 1607 Coffee Company campaign. It is important to receive consent from the customer to receive and send any automated messages, which Benz talks about in his book. This is seen in the first message preview. If the customer replies with the why, it means they consent to receiving the automated messages. In the second message, you can see the confirmation sent to the customer saying that they agreed to receive the messages along with the directions to opt out. Benz talks about how legally businesses must include this along with scanning the opt-out data base to make sure that businesses aren't sending unwanted messages to customers that aren't opted in, or they opted out. The third message preview shows the promotion, including the direction to receive it, what the customer is getting, and when the promotion is happening. One thing that has probably been noticed is the the message dash data rates may apply at the bottom of each message. This is stated under the advertisement requirements in Benz's book, along with Tatango's SMS marketing laws explained with the free templates. Lastly, it is important that customers know that consent is not a condition of purchase. You, as a marketer, have not gotten consent from a customer simply by them purchasing a product. You must have evidence, which Benz talks about. Another thing that Benz talks about is while you need to make sure you send out those opt-out messages, you don't want to include them too much, or it can lead to an increase in opt-outs, which obviously we do not want. After watching the Tatango video on the Telephone Consumer Protection Act, also known as the TCPA, we learned that the Federal Communications Commission, which is also known as the FCC, put the TCPA into act, which means that businesses cannot text message spam people. There are two components of the law that apply to text message marketing. This includes that consent cannot be a condition of purchasing, and the other is important with SMS messengers, in that consent must be given. The consumer has to consent or opt in to receiving SMS automated messages. So, what else is legally required when using text message marketing? Well, there must be a clear opt-in and opt-out directions. The customer should receive an opt-in confirmation message. There should be a clear call to action so the customer knows what they are getting. And then the message and data rate may apply. This was required before the 2013 update to the TPCA regulation, as it advises customers that they will be charged for a text message through the mobile plans. And then there should also be a URL link to the terms and conditions. It is suggested in Relevance Raises response that large businesses should work with a counsel prior to getting into a marketing campaign that uses mobile as a way to make sure everything is in order and that the business knows the law. Because in Relevance Raises response, then states that it can be very costly for a business to spam. In the USA, fines can be levied up to $1,500 per text message. That's a lot of money. Spence, in his book, talks about how important it is for businesses to raise up their customers, especially the ones that have opted into their text messages or loyalty programs, because they are valuable and should be treated as such. So while 1607 Coffee Company doesn't specifically have a text message campaign, we will work with their loyalty program. Whether a company has either a opt-in text message or a loyalty program, when it comes to coffee shops, the use of either can incentivize customers to keep coming back and ultimately grow the revenue. Newberry, 2024. Maintaining either will help increase retention and revenue, which every boss likes to hear, as well as optimizing customer lifetime value and increasing the business that is coming through the doors. The overall goal is to always make money. Let's say that the 1607 Coffee Company gets around 200 customers a day. Let's go ahead and multiply that by the average price of a coffee, which is $7, and that makes the total revenue of $1,400. Then let's say that the total expenses are half of that, making it $700. That means the total revenue of a day is $700. The goal is to increase the total revenue by 3% over a 6-month period. 3% of 700 is $210, which means that overall each month needs to increase the total revenue by $35. Now, let's say that one of the interim goals is to increase the opt-in rate. If 200 people come into the shop daily and 25 of them are opted in to the text message program or the loyalty program, then that means 12.5% of the customers are opted in. Customers that are either opted in or a part of a loyalty program have a history of making repeated purchases. By increasing the opt-in rate, it increases the chances of more customers making repeated purchases, allowing for the company to make more money and increase that total revenue. And then here are the list of my references.